Hello, this is Quantum Computing by Nathan Aguirre, and help with Nathan Aguirre, and more help from Nathan Aguirre. Um, this is my project for project number 1, quantum computing. Um, yeah, as you can see, I made this and got help by myself with myself. It won't be the case for the next upcoming projects. I got a group now, so yippee on that. Because I was stressing that I wasn't gonna get a group. Anyways, let's get started. So, what is quantum computing? So, quantum computing or quantum computers are similar to regular computers in the way that they are built. They still use bits, chips, and circuits, and they use binary code, except for one main difference, which I will get to later more in detail. But it is a pretty big difference on binary, where you expect the ones and zeros is there and not there. There's one big difference. Um, I'll get to later. What is quantum computing used for? Quantum computing is used for impossible. I guess the easiest way to say it is impossible problems or slash theoretical problems um, that we cannot solve right now, or will take a long time to solve right now. So I guess a good example of this would be cryptology, which we'll get more into later. And quantum computing is still being developed. Actually, a regular thing about this whole presentation is that quantum computing is still being developed. It is very early on in its development. In fact, they've started off. I think they started off development like a couple, like 10 years ago, around there. And so it is very early on, and a lot of it is still, I wouldn't say theoretical, but more so, it is harder to. It is still being developed. I guess that's the easiest way I can say it. Not to say it doesn't exist. It does. It's just it's still being developed and it's not fully optimized. Next slide. And quantum computing explained further. It uses, this is what I was talking about. One main difference is it uses quantum bits, which are also known as qubits. And qubits are different from regular bits as a classical computer. I find that term funny. A classical computer is what we call, I guess, a computer that's used now, or like ones that use ones and zeros. Every computer, pretty much, outside of quantum computers. That's what they're called, classical computers. It's really funny because like there's this new lingo for these computers that we've been using for a while, and now they're called classic. That's funny. I know it's just a term, but like implies that like, hey man, you're still using a classic computer? That's so 2025, bro. You have to get this quantum stuff. I don't know. Sorry. Anyways, uses quantum bits, or qubits. Qubits are the same thing as regular bits, except instead of being either 1 or 0, they're both a 1 and a 0. So they both are and aren't. So that means there can exist in multiple states, which is what basic quantum mechanics is, really. States of being at the same time. So for example, 1 qubit will be 2 states, and then 2 qubits will be 4, and then so on and so forth, until it reaches like thousands, around like 10 or 15 or something like that. So it's very big. But the main thing it has to use for is expected to realize cryptography. My bad, cryptography. So that's pretty much it. Mostly, I guess that's the one I was thinking about most. It was encryption and stuff. Right now, encryption is pretty advanced, and the best encryption in the world will take like supercomputers like years to break, and that's a very long time. However, with quantum computers, they can solve it pretty much within hours theoretically, perhaps even minutes if they get advanced, which they might. So yeah, what they're used for is for advanced problem solving. So they're used for proving what we know of that we just can't prove yet because it's physically impossible, and disproving that we know that isn't possible. So imagine like theories and equations and just general data like that. I can give you an example aside from encryption, but man, I forgot. But just know that there's some pretty big use cases for it. Like I had an equation in my head, I just don't remember it, unfortunately. But yeah. what they aren't, or they're what they aren't, or where they will not be. So quantum computers pretty much aren't. For one, they're not going to replace regular computers or classic computers. They are mostly just used for niche cases of problem solving, for those kind of big cases. And I feel like the regular household will not be using them, will not find full value out of using them for that. Like, for example, my computer, I'll probably can do a lot of things. I can play a lot of games, and in a quantum computer, what will run the same, and it won't like give you better gaming or better frame data, or better refresh rate. It won't do that kind of thing because it's not meant for that. It's meant for just purely problem solving. And so it is not going to replace regular computers. And well, and that's not to say that's not strong and powerful. It's just that it's strong and powerful in certain situations, like certain niche cases, which in this case is problem solving. Like I'm saying. And also, people think that they're used for that they're gonna revolutionize, I guess, computing, and that some like we're gonna create some crazy things out of it. And to be not really, they're used like I said, for problem solving, for encryption, for just better data management. But they're not gonna change like a core idea. They're just gonna amplify things, if that makes sense. They're not gonna revolutionize um, certain aspects in computing. It's just gonna amplify it. So they're not. I guess the best way I can say it is magic, where it's gonna turn all these things into something else. Um, right. Next slide. Okay. So quantum computing past, right now, and future. So in 1981, someone named Richard Feynman proposes that quantum computers could exist. This is during a time where computers were still being developed using binary bits, ones and zeros. And this guy saw that this is what was being developed and was like, hey, what if in the future we're able to create a computer that has both a one and zero in it? And wouldn't that be crazy? And probably everyone probably looked at him like, what, bro? Just focus on the computer right now. We're working on that. But yeah, he pretty much proposes that quantum computers could exist theoretically, and that they'd be pretty useful. And this guy named David Deutsch, Dutch, I don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry. And pretty much proves that they can exist, saying or it proves more so that they would be useful in solving problems that we cannot right now. Theoretically, of course, theoretically. And it's not until used until way later, until I'd say 2010, where the first small QC is built. I say QC just to abbreviate quantum computing, because saying quantum computing over and over is really annoying. So QC. So they're really small. I think they go up to like 10 qubits, but they work in theory, and it shows that it can be done. They just need to be developed further. So right now they're not really used in workplaces. They're mostly just being developed in big corporations like Microsoft, Google, and NASA. And speaking of NASA, they say it's in its infancy, which is a pretty good term. I can say it. Like an infant, it has potential. It can grow. We just need to. Just right now, it's not doing much. A baby LeBron James ain't gonna be dunking, but give him a couple years, and damn, he can hoop. People, I put not expected to be widely around 250. I think sources vary on that. However, that's what I think will probably be the earliest, probably because they're already being developed right now. It's just they're not very good. But if they're being developed already, it shows it can be done, and therefore more research can be put into it. And right now, well, I think there's some applications before it. It's just for machine learning simulations and optimization of missions. Optimization of mission more for a NASA thing, for this kind of thing, and you'll see why, because I did a paper on NASA, and it'll be really useful for that. Simulations are just really, I guess, difficult to simulate real life mechanics, and then more so quantum mechanics in real life. So having quantum computers simulate that will be really good. And machine learning is machine learning, obviously, be really useful, and quantum computing will obviously really help with that. And the future of quantum computing. So right now, I already gone over the advanced problem solving for those and mechanics, but right now, all the building blocks are kind of in place. They just need to be developed further, and just be worked on more. And right now, the big leads are like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and sort of those kind of big companies, where they're really investing in I guess quantum computing. Um, when I mean invest, I mean like millions to, I guess, qubit processors. They're like, it's still all experimental, but it can be done, and right now is like a big race for it, I guess I can say. And yeah, oh shit, I'm running out of time. So this is my paper. It's called "What is Quantum Computing" by Frank Tavares. It was updated last July 2022, but actually it was updated in 2023, and that's the website. So pretty much what this paper goes over is it's not really more so there's a problem with it or in it. It's more so explaining quantum mechanics and why it's so important and why it's being developed right now and what state it's in. I'm running out of time. Damn. So I guess solution to problem. So it's more. I guess the solution to problem to, I guess, in the paper was less so that there's a problem, more so like a big like limit or an obstacle, and quantum computing can overcome that limit. Like for example, like um, the limitations of classical computers, and just algorithms and tools that just are not developed so far. But in like a couple of years, they will be overcome. And right now, NASA is working with like various institutions like Google, and it's part of like a more nationwide like effort to improve upon quantum computing. And what's the connection to, I guess, QC? Well, right now there's a lot of problems that NASA and other big researchers are facing, and they can be solved using QC. So I guess an example of NASA is that they are, of course, one of the biggest leads in space, and gather a lot of data. That takes a lot of time, effort, and of course, space is math, a lot of math, and that involves quantum. And that also involves quantum mechanics, and I guess QC can help with that. So like imagine stuff like just optimization, just highlighting missions. It just pretty much it goes over how fundamentally different QC is to classical computers and how much it can help. And yeah. So I guess the results was NASA's not trying to solve their computing problems here and then, more so they're informed by wisdom so far, and in due time QC can in fact help them with their problems. Yeah, like I said, of the past, I guess 10 minutes or so, quantum computing is more so like a problem solving tool, and in due time it will solve more problems and something that NASA can really benefit from. And the benefiting, or I guess solving the things that I've said, like missions, data gatherment, or just earth science and stuff like that. So yeah. Let's go to the next one. And I guess the big takeaway from this is that quantum computing is still young but shows potential. And like I said, it's infancy. Yeah, I think I've already covered everything that is about quantum computing. So I would go more into further in detail, but I'm running out of time. So yeah, and those are our resources. And that's it. Yep. Thank you. This is made by Nathan, and Nathan. Goodbye.